Solomon was the son of King David and Bathsheba. His birth story is intertwined with one of the more complex and tragic parts of his father's reign. David's relationship with Bathsheba began with a scandalous affair that led to the death of her first husband, Uriah, whom David had sent to his death in battle to cover up the affair. This sin, however, had far-reaching consequences for David's family. Bathsheba's first child with David, a son, died shortly after birth as a consequence of David's. Later, Bathsheba became pregnant again, and this time the child survived. This child was Solomon, whose name means peaceful, a fitting name given that his birth brought a sense of hope and peace after the previous tragedy. From the start, Solomon's life was marked by prophecy. The prophet Nathan declared that Solomon, despite being born out of such a complicated and morally troubling relationship, would inherit David's throne. Nathan also told David that the Lord had chosen Solomon to build a temple in his name, an important divine task. As David grew old, his health declined, and a power struggle began within the royal family. Adonijah, another of David's sons, declared himself king. He sought to gain support by recruiting key figures such as Joab, the commander of the army, and Abiathar, the priest. However, Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, along with the prophet Nathan, warned David that Solomon was the Lord's chose. David took action to ensure Solomon's ascension, reaffirming his promise in front of the people and publicly anointing Solomon as king. In a dramatic turn of events, Solomon was officially crowned king of Israel, and Adonijah's brief attempt to take the throne ended in failure. Adonijah sought refuge but was eventually killed by Solomon, along with several other rivals to the throne. Solomon's reign began with promises of peace and prosperity. Early in his rule, Solomon made an important decision. Solomon's reign began with promises of peace and prosperity. Early in his rule, Solomon made an important decision that would define his legacy. He asked God for wisdom. The story of Solomon's request for wisdom takes place when he is faced with a difficult situation. The Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and offered him anything he desired. Solomon, recognizing his young age and inexperience, asked God for wisdom to rule the people of Israel justly. God granted Solomon's request, giving him this divine wisdom quickly became evident when Solomon was faced with a famous test of judgment. Two women came to Solomon, both claiming to be the mother of a single child. Solomon proposed to divide the child in half and give each woman a part. The true mother immediately revealed herself by offering to give up her claim to the child in order to save its life. Solomon, recognizing her selflessness, declared her the rightful mother. This story became emblematic of Solomon's rule, marked by Rema. Ability to resolve conflicts with unparalleled insight. One of the most significant achievements of Solomon's reign was the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem, a grand and sacred structure that would become the focal point of Jewish worship. David had long desired to build a permanent temple for God but was told by God that he would not be the one to do so. Instead, the task was passed on to Solomon. Solomon began the project early in his reign, enlisting the finest artisans and laborers. He established alliances with King Hiram of Tyre, who provided skilled workers and materials, including timber and stone. The construction of the temple took 7 years, and it was built on Mount Moriah, the same site where Abraham had been willing to sacrifice Isaac. The temple was designed according to the vision of David but was executed by Solomon with grand precision and dedication. The temple's structure was elaborate, with intricate details and precious materials, such as gold, silver, and cedar wood. The inner sanctuary, known as the Holy of Holies, housed the Ark of the Covenant. When the temple was completed, Solomon consecrated it with a grand dedication ceremony. He prayed to God, asking that his presence would dwell in the temple and that he would continue to bless the people of Israel. As king, Solomon ruled Israel with extraordinary wisdom. He restructured the key. Extraordinary wisdom. He restructured the kingdom and established a system of officials to manage the various regions. He also maintained peace and security, avoiding military conflict during most of his reign. Trade flourished, and Israel experienced a period of prosperity and growth. Solomon also gained fame for his proverbs and wise sayings, many of which are recorded in the biblical book of Proverbs. His wisdom attracted visitors from far and wide, including the Queen of Sheba, who came to test Solomon's wisdom with difficult questions. After hearing Solomon's answers, the queen was so impressed that she praised the God of Israel for granting Solomon such unparalleled wisdom. His ability to discern the truth, guide his people, and make fair decisions contributed to the kingdom's wealth and influence. In addition to the temple, Solomon built other important structures, including his own palace, which took 13 years to complete. He also fortified cities, built Chariot City, and undertook massive public works projects, strengthening Israel's infrastructure and military capabilities. Solomon's reign saw a booming economy. His alliance with King Hiram of Tyre allowed for lucrative trade relationships, especially in luxury goods like gold, spices, and precious stones. Solomon's ships sailed to distant lands, bringing back valuable treasures, and he established Israel as a major economic power in the ancient world. At the height of his reign, Solomon was known as a ruler of great wisdom, wealth, and power. Israel enjoyed peace, prosperity, and international respect. His fame spread far beyond the borders of Israel, and the Queen of Sheba's visit is just one example of how Solomon was admired throughout the ancient world. The success of his reign was seen as a fulfillment of God's promises to David and to Israel. However, Solomon's later years were marked by challenges that began to undermine the stability. A significant factor was his marriages to foreign women, including princesses from Egypt, Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, and Hittite nations. While these alliances were politically strategic, they led Solomon into idolatry. Many of his wives worshipped foreign gods, and Solomon, despite his wisdom, allowed their influence to pull him away from God's commands. Solomon built high places and altars for the worship of foreign gods, including Molech and Ashtoreth. This idolatry angered God, and through the people, and after Solomon's death, Israel was on the brink of division. Solomon's death marked the end of a golden age for Israel. After his death, the kingdom was indeed divided, just as God had prophesied. The northern kingdom of Israel was ruled by Jeroboam, and the southern kingdom of Judah was ruled by Solomon's son, Rehoboam. This division would ultimately weaken Israel and lead to its downfall in subsequent centuries. Despite the later problems in his reign, Solomon left behind a legacy. The temple he built in Jerusalem became the spiritual center of the Jewish people, and his wisdom and proverbs continue to influence many to this day. His life and reign are a mixture of great achievements and tragic flaws, illustrating both the heights of divine blessing and the consequences of disobedience. Solomon's story is one of immense wisdom, extraordinary accomplishments, and tragic decline. He is remembered as one of the greatest kings in Israel's history, yet his later years' cautionary tale about the dangers of turning away from God, even after receiving his blessings. The legacy of Solomon, particularly through the temple he built and the wisdom he imparted, remains significant in the history of the Jewish people and in religious thought worldwide. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button for more.